Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bookcraft podcast. Conversations from every side of the story. My name is Colleen. I am your host, debut author, serial entrepreneur, and somebody that has a croaky voice. So I didn't want to miss posting a podcast this week, but I've been trying to push off the days until I actually record something. So this episode is going to be shorter just because I don't think any of you really want to listen to my voice for a really long time. But with that, I wanted to talk about, as somebody that's an entrepreneur and is working on her second book, and what do you do when you get slowed down by or derailed from writing the next book? And this is something that's kind of come up in conversation lately with other authors. One of my author friends has hurt her wrist, so she's working on her book. She can't type now. Myself, I have a eye thing that's happening right now where I kind of have a floater in the eye and it's blocking part of my vision. And so I thought, well, let's talk about some of the things that authors can do so that they can keep working, keep creating, and, hopefully get towards that next book that's published. So one of the strategies that I was kind of looking at was I've been listening to a lot of other bookish podcasts, author podcasts, and they've been talking a lot about using dictation to help you out. So for the person that's got carpal tunnel, can't type anymore, for the person that's having a really hard time sitting for hours on end, and for people, like myself currently, they're having some problems with their vision. What can you do? So I started looking into some of the dictation apps and trying to figure out how to actually streamline the process. Because yes, I can do the voice memos or the voice recording, but then if it's not transcribing, then you have to have a transcribing program. And then how do you get it from the transcription program into the program that you use for actually drafting your novel? So it's been a bit of a challenging week. I have a bit of time off from teaching and I want to really maximize getting a lot of great words down on the page for book 2, and then poof, curveballs come in through the way. So one of the things that I've started investigating is these dictation transcription apps and app services. I think I figured out which one I'm going to go with, and I think that might be TurboScribe. And you might be thinking, well, how did you make the decision? Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of apps out there that can help you, but some of the apps have a real heavy AI feature in them. I just want the raw dictation. Like, I want the words that I'm saying dictated, transcribed. That's all I need. I don't need my words turned into pirate language. Ahoy, matey. I don't need my words turned into a formal email to be sent out. So it's interesting because there's some apps out there that people use for a lot of different functions. So they might have them because they are doing I don't know how to write a proper email right now, or I got an email in my head and I don't know what to do. And they just kind of, regurgitate the words into the app. And then the app says, dear sir or madame, I am writing to you with an inquiry. And it will change it into what you want. But because I don't need that, when I was looking at all the different apps, it was kind of hard to find one with pretty much no bells and whistles. So, and the other thing, and this wasn't even something that I even considered in advance, was how long can the voice recording be for a transcription service to be able to transcribe it, accurately? And where is the cutoff point? Because there's some, and they're basically, you get 30 minutes and that's all you get for the entire day. So it's just like, Well, that's not great. I'm driving a lot right now. I'm driving like 3 hours a day. And so the other thing I was thinking was I could set my phone up as hands-free and basically just talk to my phone while I'm driving. And again, I just need it to do my dictation, my raw dictation, and transcribe it. So one of the options that I wish that was accessible to me was the voice memo on your iPhone, which has transcription only for iPhone 12 and above. I have iPhone 11. The Notes app has where you can basically voice to text. I don't know how long it will make it though, so I have to actually investigate that. There's apps like Otter, there's apps like Spokenly, um, TurboScribe for just transcription, and a whole bunch of other things. And if you're thinking to yourself, my goodness, there's so many apps out there, there really are. And I think it's part of finding accessible resources for people to use. You know, if somebody's in a bit of a bundle, been a bit of a pinch like I'm in right now, where I don't want to be necessarily on my computer screen for hours at a time. And I have the blue blocker glasses and I have all that as well. But yeah, it's interesting to kind of start looking through and figuring out what might be a solution. I'm a really fast typer, so sitting and typing would be fine, but if I'm trying to maximize this 12 days that I have to get the last part of my book 2 done, dictation might be the option. And that's just because of, the driving and just having the opportunity to kind of put my words out. One of the other things that I came across was, and I did not realize this, there's a lot of authors that doing dictation is really hard because they're not used to vocalizing, verbalizing, hearing their story in their own voice being, recorded on whatever app that they're using. And so they find it a bit challenging, whereas when they're typing, as they're typing, their brain is kind of telling them, okay, the next sentence is going to be this, the next. So they might be typing a sentence, but the brain's already giving them what's coming up for the next few sentences. And I thought that was a really kind of interesting sort of psychology of how the brain is, processing the information when you're typing it. Whereas if you were telling the story and you're using your own words, sometimes what you're seeing in your head as the story, you're not actually verbalizing or dictating out because all those other little components of what's happening in the background, what's happening in with the characters, the facial expressions, you're not actually saying them. So it's kind of interesting. Um, I'm very used to doing voice to text because I use it for my other podcast and my Substack articles and all that. So I'm really used to it for that context. It's going to be interesting to see for my fiction novel how it works. I think I'll be okay, but then the other hurdle is if your dictation app doesn't recognize voice commands like open quote, end quote, period, question mark, punctuation, new paragraph, stuff like that. My text app recognizes all of that. No problem. I can say brackets here and it will put brackets around stuff. So it's a little bit of fiddly work. And it's a lot of things that as an author, you wouldn't necessarily, I'm going to say it twice. You wouldn't think about these things as even a consideration. You're like, I sit down, I clackety clack, I type the book, I edit the book, I publish the book. But what happens when that option isn't working for you? And it could be just, I'm hoping this eye thing goes away very quickly. But in doing the research to try and find solutions to keep myself productive and keep myself on track to get book 2 out, I'm finding a lot of really cool information that it's things that I would have never, ever even thought about. So I thought I'd just share that as, kind of a behind the scenes of author life. And maybe it's something that you haven't thought about either, but it's an interesting thing to ponder. The book 2 is going well. I have actually gone through, and here's the other thing. This is another nugget. If you are an inspiring author out there, you have to kind of figure out what your process is for writing. And I can 100% tell you the process I used for writing book 1, which was pretty much I wrote the book like, I want to say linear, because it was like I wrote the book start to finish. So as I was writing the book, it was all basically there, and I was following the yellow brick road. With this book, because I was participating in the Novel November, which is a every year in November, it's this novel writing initiative where people kind of get together all over the world, and they just, the goal is to get 50,000 words. You just get as many words as you can down. And I was participating in the Novel November this year. And what I ended up doing was each day I wanted to get my word count in, and I wrote parts of the book out of order. So willy-nilly all over the place, which made it not easy peasy lemon squeezy to start figuring out, put together the book. I actually ended up printing out 2/3. So I have 2/3 of the first draft done. I actually ended up printing it out, rearranging it on like with the physical paper so I could see them and go, oh, what have I done here? I have now put them in the time frame that they need to go from start to finish of the book. And now I'm going through and figuring out what's missing. And so again, this is one of those things where, being a new author, working on book 2, I 100% do not recommend if you're like me, where you can see pretty much the whole story in your head. This was a bad choice. So I have book 3 that I'll be working on a little bit in tandem with book 2, because I have a few scenes in book 2 that are very much tied to book 3. It's a whole series, so that everything is tied together, but I am definitely not going to be doing that for book 3, which I'll start writing probably in the next month and a half. So the goal is for book 2 to be out by the end of March. I'm saying it here now. This is my accountability thing. Y'all can come after me if the book is not out by then, but it really needs to be out by then, because I've got markets in April and May, and I'd really like to have both books there. So yeah, I think that's enough of my croaky voice for the evening. I hope that wherever you're at, if you are celebrating any kind of love this weekend, it is Valentine's Day tomorrow. I'm not a big, woohoo Valentine's Day, even though I'm a chocolatier and it's part of my business, but this year was all experiences and families getting together, and we're eating chocolate together. And for me, that was a lot of fun, because it was just like a really wonderful way to celebrate everybody's, love for each other. So my book has romance in it. And as I'm learning more about marketing, I'm learning more about who is the perfect reader for my book. And so, we're in the season of love. It's love all the time. But in any case, just a couple nuggets for you to think about if you're out there, if you're an author, and if you're a reader and you're wondering, well, how do authors work around things like injuries and illness and all that and still keep books coming out? Well, this is what I'm doing. So I'm going to actually try my dictation solution tomorrow. I will report back on how it works. For now, however you enjoy books, there's always a place for you here. Thanks so much, everyone.